It was October 13th. I fell asleep during a full moon. Suddenly, I was soaring above an endless green forest, with the brightest hue of blue wings that shimmered in the sunlight. I flew distances, feeling free, but then the moon started to align in between Earth and the sun. From afar, I saw blue and red sirens and heard a prayer. "I need help," the girl cried to no one and everyone. With the sound of thunder, I woke up from my dream, inside a jail cell, with a girl. "What in the world?" I shouted. The girl groggily opened her eyes and stared at me. To my dismay, I am now a brown feathered bird. Upon realizing this, I chaotically started to fly around the cell, thinking if I crashed into the walls, I'd turn back into a man. "Stop, you're going to hurt yourself," she said. "You can hear me?" I asked. "Yes, of course I can hear you." "Wait, how come I can hear you and what are we doing in jail?" she asked. "I don't know, but I fell asleep on the couch at home, woke up in here with you and as a bird," I said, flabbergasted. "I'm so confused," cried the girl. "No crapola. That makes the two of us," I exclaimed. "Okay, hold on, I'll ask the police officers. They must know what happened and hopefully, they'll release the both of us. There must be a reasonable explanation," she said. She started shouting and then pounding on the metal door, trying to get the attention of one of the police officers. "Ma'am, you need to stop screaming and pounding on the door," the attending cop commanded. "What am I and a bird doing in here?" she asked. "You are involved in a car accident and what bird are you referring to?" asked the cop. "Can't you see the bird?" she questioned. "No, ma'am. I do not see a bird. Geez, drunks are the worst jailbirds," the cop ranted and walked away, muttering the last sentence under his breath but slightly loud enough for her to hear. More confused than ever, she sat back down on the bench. I flew down to sit by her side. We both scratched our heads. "My name is Jedson," I said, introducing myself. "My name is Helen," she replied. Suddenly, she got up and started pacing around the cell. "How is this possible? What is going on? This must be a nightmare I'm stuck in. Wake up. Wake up, now," Helen frantically repeated, almost hyperventilating. "Yo, you gots to calm down, Helen. Look on the bright side. You didn't wake up with a beak, feathers, and wings. I'm a man, even if I dig these wings, I want my manly body back," I said. She cracked a smile, calmed down, and wiped away tears from her cheeks. I racked my bird brain to remember details of anything that would spark an explanation for this bizarre, freak incident. Slowly, bits and pieces of my vision that served as memories started coming back. "After falling asleep, I had a dream I was a blue jay," I said, thinking out loud. "Then, I saw a cluster of blue and red flashes, so I started flying towards the lights. Hot diggity darn, I remember now. I saw a bloody man, a bunch of cops and ambulances, and then you were put into handcuffs. It was pure mayhem. But that doesn't explain why I woke up as a brown bird and in jail, with you. I didn't break any laws." I rambled on and on. "Wait, Jedson, you're losing me. I have a pounding headache. You need to slow down because you're not making any sense. What happened before I got arrested?" "I need to know about the car accident," Helen hissed at me. Geez, this girl is so demanding, I thought. I'm a gosh darn legit jailbird and she's wailing over the fact she's in jail? Fighting the urge to retort with harsh sarcasm, I thought about the first thing I saw as soon as I got to the accident. Thus, this is my story as a blue jay. I swooped down and saw a gray Honda SUV running with the headlights on. A man was sitting in the passenger seat with the door open, one leg out of the vehicle with blood on his face and mouth. "What happened?" the cop asked the man. "She ran me over," the bloody man shouted as he was pointing to you, sitting in the back seat of the car, crying hysterically. The cop asked you what happened, but you couldn't utter a legible sentence. Then the cop looked at the female standing outside of the car. The injured man was crying out in pain. "Try to stay calm, the fire/EMS is on their way," the cop said. You and the bloody dude must have been partying earlier because the cop asked the man if he drank any alcohol earlier. The bloody dude ignored the question and screamed how he was dying. Finally, the sounds of the EMS sirens announced their arrival. The injured man stood up, tried to walk over to the ambulance, but collapsed to the ground after a few steps, unresponsive. The officer and the EMTs immediately rendered aid to the man. "His injuries are too severe, we need to rush him to the hospital," shouted one of the EMTs. They lifted the man up onto the gurney, pushed the wheeled stretcher into the ambulance, and zoomed off with the red and blue sirens blaring. Once the man was whisked away to the hospital, the cop walked back towards the vehicle. The woman standing outside the car was accompanied by his fellow police officer Pluto. "Are you taking her statement?" the cop asked. "Yes, and you should try to get a statement from the woman crying in the backseat of the SUV. After I'm done here, I'll check in with you," Officer Pluto said. The cop walked over to you. "Helen Crymelon, you were a hot mess. I can tell you were genuinely distraught and upset. Ma'am, I need you to be calm right now and step out of the vehicle. My name is Officer Uranus. What is your name and can you tell me what happened?" he asked. "I am so confused about what is going on. My name is Helen. Is my boyfriend going to be okay? Is my boyfriend going to be okay? Can I sit back down to process what happened?" you asked the cop, clearly upset and concerned about the injured man. However, Officer Uranus must have smelled alcohol on you too because his demeanor changed. Ignoring your questions, he asked you to take the standard field sobriety test, which you agreed to do. The first test he had you do was the horizontal gaze nystagmus test. He placed you in the starting position with both feet together and hands by your side. He explained that you had to follow the tip of his pen with your eyes, without turning your head. Before starting the test, he said he noticed your pupils were equal in size and tracking. As the cop moved the pen, "Geez, did you have trouble following the tip without moving your head?" He had to repeat the instructions 4 times. During the test, Professor Uranus said he noticed the lack of smooth pursuit in both eyes. Then observed distinct and sustained nystagmus at maximum deviation in both eyes. Next, he said he saw onset of nystagmus prior to 45 degrees in both eyes. Lastly, he observed vertical nystagmus in both eyes. "Okay, are you ready for the next test?" asked Officer Uranus. "Yes," you said. The next test the cop had you perform was the walk and turn. The area where the test was performed was flat and free of debris. Thank God you were wearing UGG boots. Will you be comfortable walking in those boots, and do you have any medical conditions that would prevent you from performing this test? Asked the cop. Yes, and I do not have any medical conditions, you replied. The cop placed you in the starting position, right foot in front of your left foot, touching heel to toe. You had her hands inside your coat pocket. He asked you to take your hands out. I ain't gonna lie, because your behavior and actions from then on, I found ridiculously hysterical. You took both hands out of your pockets, started talking in alien gibberish, then put both hands back inside the pockets, all the while not even close to staying in the starting position. Every time the cop tried to talk, you would just interrupt him. Here, let me demonstrate what you need to do, Officer Uranus said, in an impatient tone. If I was the cop, I'd put you in handcuffs at this point for sounding like a whiny 4-year-old. He finished showing you what you had to do. Brace yourself for this part of the story, 'cause it should be a scene written for the sequel to Dumb and Dumber. It was utterly, unexpectedly so funny that I couldn't stop chirping, almost losing my feathers from rolling over on the ground. You gave yourself a pep talk of I can do this, for a minimum of 10 minutes. You must not have convinced yourself, because you proceeded with several air squats. All done with extreme conviction, preparing to compete in the Olympics. Yes, you should be horrified by now. However, in your defense, I thought your comedy skit was done with intense conviction, as though you were about to compete in the Olympics. Which made it more comical given the situation you were in. Helen, I must say I've never laughed so hard and so long, even the cop shooed me away several times. I was beyond fits of hysterical laughing that I peed all over my feathers when I saw your air squats coupled with the expression on the cop's face. Drama dosed with belly-aching comedy does not happen in my life. Needless to say, you